Hello, everybody. I think it's 3:03 here in Berlin time, Central Europe time. I think we are ready to start. For me, on my end, I'm Retu, speaking right now, CEO, founder of Ultimate AI. And first of all, I'm really excited about this webinar, especially looking at the list of attendees. So many people was pressured enough to give their time to come here and listen us. Quickly on the concept of this webinar. So Andre Davids from Conversationals is going to run through in-depth cases from building bots, especially in customer service. And I'm going to be here to moderate this and make sure that, let's say, all the questions you have are going to be asked. And we're going to have this more in a, let's say, a pun intended, conversational mode than just a one long presentation. And also I want to start by giving a big shout out to Freshworks, giving this opportunity to us, such a great partner of ours, and we're really excited to kick off the webinar. I'm going to start by introducing myself, and then I'm going to leave it to Andre. So like said before, I'm Retu Kainalainen. I'm one of the founders and the CEO of Ultimate AI. We're a company originally founded in Finland. Now we have a second location also in Berlin. And in practice, what we do is we help businesses scale their customer service. We built a technology backend for example, Freshdesk, where our customers can automate easy cases in chat, in email, but also augment the work of customer service agents by providing these real-time answer recommendations. And we've been in business for a few years now, 3 years, and working with some of the largest companies from Europe, from Nordic, Germany, and the UK. But that's quickly on me. Andre, go ahead, introduce yourself and kick off the webinar. And just, sorry, quickly, if you have any questions or our attendees, there's a little QA button on the below of this Zoom webinar. Go ahead, click that, ask your question. I'm either gonna just jump in with Andre and ask that question, or then we'll have 5-10 minutes at the end, go through all of the questions you have. So Andre, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So today we're going to talk about the Conversationals examples that we've built. I'm the founder of Conversationals, a Dutch consultancy and implementation partner, servicing 25 big corporates. Started off a little bit over a year ago, but we're already having our solutions already are having 1 million interactions on a daily basis with all our joint clients. What I'm trying to do today with you is share some of our insights and the way that we work, and then in depth go to a case that we've built, which is a fully conversational app, and especially focus on, okay, how can you put chatbots and AI actually into practice? Even though Conversational started a year and a half ago, about 2.5 years ago, I started working on my first bot, which is a bot for a big supermarket chain, Albert Heijn. And I'll show you a quick demo of what we did in. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the case, the Albert Heijn case that we built for the big supermarket chain, and that was the first chatbot that we built on Facebook Messenger. Which was quite a struggle to build because it felt like building the 100th website of the world. And after that, we've built about 25 different other ones, and they were all mainly focused in the area of customer service, where we're helping the organizations and their clients with optimizing interactions and getting access to questions or getting access to answers in a faster manner. The way that we do that in our projects is that we're working in a 3-step process. The first step of that is making a plan, and making a plan where we're deciding what we're actually going to do based on inspiration, based on current needs of that organizations, where we're building business cases and even a proof of concept and project plan in a couple of days. Then realizing that in the second phase, making it work, where we're deciding on which tools are being used, what we're actually going to be building, the content that we're developing, and making it in a launchable product in 6 to 8 weeks. And then, honestly, the most important step phase, we're reaching the most important phase where we're making the tools and the solutions better on a daily basis, making the bot platforms smarter on a day-to-day basis. And then we're talking about continuous improvements. Just to show you a couple of logos of clients that we're working for, and now, but I'll just dive into one of them in a slightly later stage. And as you might already experience by your own self already, is that the majority of customers that have a question, they'll try to look for an answer themselves. And just before they're reaching out to that agent or to an agent or even organization. However, about 40% say that the help search did not generate the help that they were looking for. So there's a lot of room for improvement on the current need for customers on self-service already. And about 2/3 of all the customers are even expecting real-time answers. And the urge for self-service and speed of service are currently in that high profile that we need to automate that to reach those expectations as well. And if we're, just to give you some more insights in the process that we're using for that, is that in the customer service area, honestly, we're always trying to see if we can prevent all the negative situations where service or information service is required. But if we can't prevent that, because situations that can be prevented is information that is lacking on certain moments or malfunctionings of tools of services. But if we can't prevent that, then we're always trying to see if we can automate the conversation and the information, just to give answers to that as well, where we're facilitating the user to ask that question in his or her own language. In our solutions, 80% of all the questions that are being asked, we're able to provide with an automatic answer. But 80% is still not 100%. So there's always room for an actual agent to step in. And what we're doing is we're making sure that that agent is integrated in a seamless manner. But we're making sure that that agent only needs to jump in the moment where he or she can actually add value. So if the agent is required, then we're preparing that live conversation as much as possible with getting the client's detail and client information. And only then making sure that we're doing the handover to the agent in a seamless manner. And for all the situations that a handover was required, we're looking on a daily basis how we can either prevent those situations to arise or even to automate that in a Q&A again and add that to the knowledge bases.
Andre, I just have to say at this point, like, I agree 100%. Just quickly on, especially for the preparation phase. So I think nowadays there's a lot of talk about the automation itself. And like you said, there's a lot of talk about how much can you automate. But we've also seen our customers, a lot of like awesome customer experience being created when the bots is gathering the information for the agent. So even when you detect the intent, sometimes you don't even want to automate cases, like if there's a reclamation or something. Just gather the information, pre-fill that into the case for the agent, and then the agent will take over. So I just want to like emphasize like how crucial that can be, and we've seen really good results on that.
Yeah, and especially in ROI level, we've done projects for a big telecom organization in Holland where we, in 6 weeks, reached the ROI that was only intended to be reached in a year's time. Just by making sure that those live chat conversations were less long than they initially were. Yeah. So that's those are steps that tend to be forgotten every now and then, to be honest. So we're talking about the cooperation between agents and bots. And for us, it's not the world doesn't consist of either agents or either bots, but we're working towards solutions where we can make sure that the two of them are working in the best possible way together, jointly on situations, and getting the most of each other out of it. And in doing so, we're making sure that we're actually getting the robot out of the human, out of the agent. So we're making sure that the agent doesn't have to do any mundane or repetitive tasks that he or she doesn't actually even add that much value to, just to make sure that the time that is created with that as well can actually be spent on more complex situations rather than that they need to be dealt with in a really quick manner as well. And if you look at the advantages that agents have, or even the advantages of that bots and chatbots have, they tend to deal better with emotions. They have more empathy. They tend to be able to handle complex situations better. And they're more focused on understanding. Whilst on the other hand, if you look at chatbots, they're of course 24/7 available. There's never a queue. They're far faster in interacting. They're faster in accessing data, and you can even make sure that a bot can learn different languages as well. But in the old days, there were two additional things that were mostly considered as important elements of agents. For instance, that they're able to connect in a better personal manner, and that the agent would have access to more accurate information. However, with the arisal of AI and the arisal of virtual assistants, those last 2 points go for chatbots as well. So if I would ask my Fitbit on how I slept, I would trust my Fitbit VA, virtual assistant, more than if I would have to get in touch with the actual colleague of Fitbit. So the two worlds are really moving towards each other. And that's why we're always looking for where can we make sure that they work together in the best possible manner. And if you're working on chatbots, then I'm going to go through a couple of tips for you in your organization. If you're developing a chatbot, especially for your customer service department, that might feel as a part of competition of a new colleague that's taking over their world, and they're taking over their jobs, especially. So what we always suggest to do is that if you're building that chatbot, make sure that your customer service part is part of the team that's actually building it. Make sure that there are people in that team that are really fond of it, but also more skeptical. And in that way, if you're with that team, you also work on giving it a personality, and then it will actually become a part of your organization and a part of your team, making it more likable and giving it more empathy from your sympathy, from your colleagues. And a client of ours, a big energy corporation in Holland, even visualized their virtual assistant on paper, on carton boxes throughout their whole office. And they didn't expect, but the customer service team were really enthusiastic about this, and they even took those card boxes of Nina, their virtual assistant, throughout the whole company, showing the rest of the organization that she's being seen as one of the team. But if you're introducing it and showing it if you're showing the chatbot to your end users, always make sure that the end user sees that he or she is actually talking to a chatbot. Tell them explicitly that it is, and don't hide don't hide the fact or that she's in an automatic conversation. And then, as I just said at the beginning as well, once you've introduced it, make sure that you're making it smarter on a daily basis, making sure that you're letting it learn from each interaction, from each question that it was asked, that it didn't have an answer to yet. If you see those questions coming in more often, make sure you add the answers to it.
I actually have a quick question on this. Andre, who usually in these companies, like, who is the person like working most with the bot? Let's say training the bot. So in your experience, like, is it usually like you guys building the bots, or is it the agent or the manager, or?
No, what we're always looking for and aiming for is that we're training the organization to work on the bot themselves. And in most times, actual agents are making sure that the bot will be a smarter solution on a daily basis. So there's and those agents are working then in a team together with possibly a UX or a developer, a front-end developer, or either back-end. And a product owner most of the times, and those roles consist of the 4 or 5 leading roles. A part of the in the second scale, you could have people. You can include people like testers, for instance, making sure that deployments are going well and that data is all being and all the tools are being integrated in a proper manner. But mostly, to answer your question, agents is that we're trying to give that work back to the agents and making sure that the agents can work on their digital colleague.
Yeah, that makes sense. They are the ground truth. They know which answers to give in which scenarios. They're the experts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that if you're giving them an active role, that makes the chance of success makes it higher as well, rather than having let's say an innovation department building that, and then that the customer service agents will think, hey, why is innovation taking over our jobs? If you're giving them room just to facilitate that, that makes it easier in the success. Yeah. And if we're talking about the solutions that we're building, you might be able to think of different solutions for your own organization, but the quickest way to success is, in our opinion, always a solution where you add immediate value for the end user, but also for your organization. And preparing that live chat, for instance, is a really quick fix with high benefits for the end user, but also for your organization, just to name an example. One of the most recent things that we've did is that we've built a fully conversational app for a public housing company, Clinker. And the next slides are showing you more about the background of it and the steps that we've taken just to reach that. And this is Q, the virtual character, the virtual assistant, if you're renting with that company. And Clinker is actually an innovation department, is an actual innovative brand and a startup brand from the mother company Mitros, which is already a public housing company that's been so for ages, 350 employees since 1912. Clinker we recently launched with only not 30,000 houses, but only 18, not 350 employees, but only 6. And Mitros is the old mother company, which has a big history. They're working on innovation as well, but they're more working on innovation from the current starting point that they're already having, trying to make steps, and sometimes quite big steps, but always taking the current situation as a starting point. Just to give an example of their offices where they're at, a couple of meters down the road where I'm currently at in Utrecht in Holland. All pretty neat and all pretty tidy and pretty organized. But then we thought of, now why not, if we're trying to build a startup, the future of the public housing companies, why not start with a blank sheet and focus more on innovation rather than focusing on the on the current situation as a starting point. And with the goal on realizing the end state in an immediate manner already. And just to show you how our office at Clinker looks slightly different than Mitro's. Well, we're still in the same building, but we're in the right hand attic actually. To give you an example what Clinker is, just a short video that will show you how Clinker works. So this is the conversational app, and the app where you can do anything fully digital with when you're renting or looking for a house at Clinker. So you can enroll, you can create your account. Do note that we're not creating that account in a conversation, but on layovers. And once you've created your account, you can have a look, you can search for houses, you can have a look at the houses that they're offering, you can respond and react to a house. And if you're reacting, you're seeing confirmation pages. You can check your last data. You can sign your contracts, all in that conversation. You can pay your rent, fully digital. So on the left-hand side, you see the screen where it's being introduced. And this is here you can see the cooperation between agents and chatbots. So you see the live agent. So you see the inbox. In that inbox, all the live chats are being included. And that's Clinker. So Clinker started off a year and a half ago and was just launched 4 weeks ago. And in Clinker, everything was new. We had to create everything. We had to create the brand, the company, the promises, interfaces, processes, systems. Sorry. I think we'll continue now again as well. We had to create tenants and all. And we focused on building an app-only infrastructure because we wanted to make sure that we're creating the public housing company of the future and not thinking of how the tenants should spend energy in trying to reach us. Now we want it to be as nearby for the tenants as we can. A couple of tips to show you that we've used in that process. First of all, we've set a goal. That might sound logical, but if you don't agree on that, then it's making it quite hard to actually realize it. And for Clinker, we decided that we're aiming for the highest degree of highest degree of satisfaction possible from the tenants, combined with the lowest cost in an organization that is as flexible as possible, and aiming for the 9+ experience. And therefore, we wanted to become the most digital public housing company corporation, where we're creating a setup that everybody, so all our, let's say, competitors, could even start making use of. If you have that goal, then you can start building your concept. So your concept that we've just shown, the first draft of that were, let's say, about 7, 8, or 9 months old. And we've introduced Clinker with Q as the virtual assistant. But just like in the other examples, we have to make sure that if Q couldn't help you out sufficiently, then that tenant or user did have access to actual live agents. So here as well, we made sure that the agents and queue got to work together as good as possible. But if you know your goal and if you know what you're trying to reach, we've also outlined the full customer journey. And what we've done is that we've started with, if you're, oh sorry, the title's still in Dutch, sorry about that. We've had a look at the whole tenant's journey from I'm searching for a house, I'm looking at the offerings, I wanna apply for one, so then I'm creating an account, I'm looking at that housing digitally, I'm responding, I'm being invited to have to actually have a look, I'm enrolling, then I need to wait, then because all my data is being checked, then I'm receiving a confirmation, the data is validated, etc., up to that you're actually living there and you're moving out again. And we're building the functionalities of Queue throughout that whole process, from the start to the end. But if you're building that, and you're also building the contents and the dialogues, it's really handy if you have a personality, just to make sure that there's a consistent experience in that. But creating that personal experience, or that personality actually, can be a challenge. But as a suggestion, we always take the brand values as a starting point. So for Clinker, they had quite some brand values, to be honest. Digital, innovative, intuitive, easy, nearby, personally, social, and co-creating. And we've tried to characterize those brand values in personality characterizations: optimistic, helpful, creative, human, and no nonsense. So with each copy that is being written now, we're making sure that we're reaching those 5 different personality characters. That character was then also built, or that personality was also outlined in a whole characterization sheet. So in the end, we decided on a name. We also decided what kind of famous Dutch person this character of Q is looking like, or can be experienced like. We've decided on the gender and the age, but also on what are the passions, or what drives this personality. What's the character that we're using, and what are the things that she, in this case, would never do. She would never be negative. She would never talk about processes or be ironic, sarcastic, or cynical. And the name that we've given to this personality in the end was Q. And Q, the character of Q was similar to, well, a Dutch famous actress, a presenter as well, Sophie Hilbrand. And why we're also using that link to a famous person, because that's making it easier to validate the content that we've written to, okay, but would Sophie also say this in that manner that we've decided? So once we've developed, and this is Sophie actually, so once we developed that sheet, we dived into her as a character. But one of the things that we aimed for was to making sure that Q is talking in a really clear manner. And in Dutch, you have a specific website where you can see if the copy and the words that you're using, if they're clear enough. In English, you have a similar tool, which is Grammarly. And Grammarly you can submit text, and then it will give you suggestions of how you can either use easier words, or even it will check spelling and dots and commas for you. So this is I think this is for the English speaking the English writing person, is a really powerful tool to use, that you can use it for your own emails as well, honestly. And a couple of last things that we did in that process as well. We've used inspiration, a lot of inspiration from startups that were invited in startup challenges to help us out. But we also had a look at different other currently available chatbots already. The team members were invited and challenged to review them, but after reviewing, also making sure that they're presented to each other. So this sheet, we described the name of the chatbot, where it could be found, who reviewed it and when. And then on the left-hand side, a description of overall impressions. Hey, what did you like or didn't like about the interaction, the flows, and the functionalities? And also more specifically on what you liked or you didn't like about the tone of voice, about the personality, the copy, or even the avatar. And doing this in a review process had a couple of had quite some advantages. First of all, people got to know that this expertise in a far better way, but we're also challenged to have a discussion about what they've liked and disliked, and how should that relate to the new characterization of Q. So if you're working on projects with your colleagues, this is something that I would always recommend to do, because it gives you better knowledge, but it also gives you information on what you want to move to or would like to prevent to end up in your own situation. And it's always tempting to only look at the happy flows. But unfortunately, you'll definitely have unhappy flows as well. I've already explained in an earlier stage that we're always looking at a seamless cooperation between chatbots and agents. That's something that we designed as well. So after a question that's being asked, we're asking for, or Q will ask if that answer was good enough. If it wasn't, then it will offer, or it can offer, a handoff to a live chat colleague. And the live chat will then, in this case, go to the inbox on the second top bar item, where you can then open that the conversation that you've had with your with the customer service representative. But if you're handing over the conversation to an agent, then we're also preparing that agent. So the agent gets full insight on the history of the interactions, so he or she can jump in where the discussion ended with Q. Of course, you need to use the right toolings. For Clinker, we've chosen to focus on API-driven environments. And we had a look at, especially in the decision between what do we need to use. Do we need to, for the live chat solutions, do we need to use a live chat software, or do we need to use ticketing software? In this case of Q, as a tenant, you can have a question on Friday evening about your bill, and on Saturday morning, you can reach out because you're having a question about the gardener, for instance, or the elevator that isn't working. In live chat software, typically you can only have one chat per user, with hardly case management. And if a couple of minutes there aren't any interactions, the live chats are automatically being disconnected. On the ticketing side, from the other side, you can have multiple cases, you can transfer the cases, cases can remain open, and you can also add workflows. So even though we're calling it live chat in the app, we're actually using ticketing software to cover that area. And the ticketing software that we're using for this is Freshdesk, that we're connecting to by using the APIs, of course. Now, a couple of last things that I'd like to share with you is the validation process and the testing with end users. Every 4 to 6 weeks, there were about 10 to 15 end users present at Clinker, where they could give feedback on the work that we've done, and also prioritize the things that we were planning to start working on. And those gave us really good insights on how to move forward. And one of the things that the users gave feedback on is that sometimes it's really easy to offer suggestions, quick replies, or suggested answers. But if you do that, in this example, what would you like to do? Would you like to respond, or would you like to have a look around? These are actually the only two options that there are in this journey, because the user hasn't enrolled yet. But what we've done here is then that we also deactivated the open input text, because the user, as you're at this point, you can't ask questions unless you're first registering at this stage. And if you're registering, then the chat agents can do anything for you. We've had a lot of already explained a couple of times the necessity of optimizations, and lastly, we worked about we had a lot of fun with demoing what we've done with the team and celebrate those demos as well. And this is the example. This is the photo of the team that has been working on the Clinker project at Clinker. And this is a photo that was taken the day that we presented this work to all of our competitors in the Netherlands, which isn't, in public housing company, isn't done really often, to say the least. So the next steps from now on is that we're moving from 18 houses to upscaling to 500 houses. We're adding voice to it, and that we're doing a couple of other things that were being added, as we're adding multi-languages, or increasing the possibilities of self-service, we're adding FaceTime with colleagues, and we're building a full conversational community for Clinker. And with that, I want to conclude the demo of what we've done and the journey that we've gone through with different clients, but specifically also for Clinker in the conversational app that we've built.
Perfect, Andre. Thank you so much having this really in detailed kind of case on Clinker, and like it's really insightful for me to also see kind of what kind of project we've done. We have a few questions. I know we're a bit tight on time too, so let's try to go through one or two questions at least. There was few on the chat. I tried to answer them on the text, but I'll go through one or two here by voice too. Actually, I'll start with the most interesting one, and you can, Andre, pick this up. I can continue, but there was a question about giving the bot content to agents. And have you seen scenarios where the employees are part of the organization, or have you also seen when the company is using outsourcing agents in customer service? And then the question is, how do you motivate the agents when they're outsourced? Because, well, when they get less conversations through automation, maybe their billing goes a bit down. So do you have any experiences working where the customer service is actually outsourced?
Yeah, a lot. So the telecom organization that we're talking for, that I was referring to, but also another international client, they're having on a day-to-day basis 50 chat colleagues are working from France to answer their questions, and actually there's, I think from the end user's perspective, the end user is expecting faster answers 24/7 without the necessity of needing to wait. And especially for the easy questions, I think the only thing that we can do is make sure that they're being answered as soon as possible. So I expect that there will be a shift from the outsourcing companies in either speed up and embrace this, and even maybe making sure that they train the bots and help that bot making it smarter on a day-to-day basis. Or if you stay if you remain in the, let's say, area where you think that only agents can help you reset your password, then that's going to be a challenge for those organizations, I think.
Yeah, and we like on our experience with Ultimates, like we actually work with multiple companies where the customer service is outsourced. And we're gonna have a separate webinar on, let's say, the underlyings of our technology. But like one key part of our technology is the kind of the recommendation engines. So how we work is that we automate what we can with the bot, and then we escalate, and then we start recommending answers for the agents. So now the conversation is actually human to human, but the agents is being superpowered by these answer recommendations. And this is really good for when you use an outsourcing company, because the outsourcing company actually gets a lot of value because they get to respond faster with higher quality answers because you're kind of recommending what they say. But you still keep the human in the loop that trains the machine constantly. So then we can actually take the training and bring it back to the bot. So now the automation also increases. But this is just a part of the, let's say, disruptive technology that we've also seen. We're actually partnering with quite a few outsourcing companies that want to offer these solutions to their customers because there's a huge demand there. Maybe the last question, so we don't go over time. I can start. You can add if you have a, let's say, more expert opinion on this. But there was one question about if you use Facebook Messenger. In terms of GDPR, that's always a fun topic. Only thing I know, we actually haven't done the Messenger, but we've only done Facebook Workplace bots. But I know that Facebook is part of the Privacy Shield, which is basically the GDPR extension to the US. But if I understand correctly, it doesn't mean that the data is not getting transferred outside of EU, but it will be GDPR compliant. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that's correct, but I would never. I would prevent to get discussions with and chats with actual users on Facebook Messenger where you're asking for really personal information. So there are quite some solutions already where you can set up private messaging environments, especially for the financial industry. So it might not be that much as important if you're asking for not that personal or complex question, but if you're looking at incomes and calculations and mortgages, for instance, then then I would try to create another solution, for instance, on Facebook Messenger. That might be a challenge indeed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And then we had one bit of more technical question, but we can jump that out, take that later. But that basically the question was about, can you use, let's say, an XML text to kind of feed the bots, but that would require some search functionalities, which is not impossible, but we would need to extend the NLP a little bit. And then there was one quick question. Let's just go to this last one. Which is the easiest way to set up a bot like this for the web and not via a dedicated app?
So once again, what the easiest route is?
It is the way to set up a bot like this for the website, so not via a dedicated app. So if I understand correctly, it's about like not using a third-party application as the chat solution, but just provide the bot on the website.
Yeah, that is. To be honest, what I've shown here, this case is one of our most advanced cases. So there are a lot of. If you look at the story about the telecom organization, where they already had live chat offered on the website. And what we've done there is that we added the bot to that just to make sure that they took over the preparation part. Technically, that wasn't that complex. And especially if you already have live chat, then it's content-wise, it's pretty. It's a smart step to take as well, because you don't need to create all the answers already before you can put it up and running. So getting it live in the website is probably easier in most cases than developing a conversational app as we've shown.
Exactly, and that's why we are here with Freshworks. So, for example, we have an application on their app marketplace. So basically, you can just install that and use the whole infrastructure there. So nowadays, luckily, it's really, really simple. But I think now we're out of time. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I want to thank Freshworks for giving us opportunities to present, and you have our contact details. Feel free to reach out. I know there's a lot here that we went through. There's so much more that we're gonna go through later, but I hope this gave you a little bit of an overview of, let's say, best cases and like little like tips and tricks. So when you're thinking or using your bot or buying your bot, you have a little bit of a context where to start. And any questions, feel free to reach out to me, to Andre, or the guys at Freshworks. I wish you a really, really nice day. And again, thank you.
Thank you a lot. Bye-bye.